Thank you, Kate, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. I don't expect it to be a very long one. It is going to be short and sweet and hopefully quite helpful. Feel free to just slow me down if I start talking too fast. I do have a tendency to start rambling, but yeah, I'm just going to basically jump straight into it. Oh dear, my slides aren't changing. There we go. Okay, so today's webinar is just a bit of general information regarding the formatting of first pages of articles and some elements that we like to see. We'd obviously like to thank CEDA for their generous financial support. And yeah, jumping straight in, why do we even care about the formatting of first pages? So, like almost everything else in journal publishing, there are rules around how journal articles should be formatted. And this is because they are professional documents intended to convey information and report findings within a certain set of professional environments, all of which rely on hierarchy and structure. Consistency is so important. We've touched on consistency before, I think especially in our JPPS webinar, which is available on YouTube. And yeah, basically consistency is compulsory. Everybody has to be on the same page, and the only way to kind of enforce this is to make sure that things are consistent. Consistency is akin to professionalism in this sense. And another reason that we care about formatting is that time is very valuable. Readers who can't immediately find the information that they want, whether that's the research itself or even just an indication of the journal's quality, they'll very, very quickly drop a document and move on to the next if they're not finding what they're looking for. I'm sure we've all fought our way through a badly formatted document, and we can all say we didn't really enjoy it. So formatting rules are not arbitrary. They are all intended to make the article and therefore the journal a transparent and accessible document, which creates accountability that interlocks with other accountability systems such as peer review and plagiarism checking. So research and research publication are built on systems of checks and balances, reproducibility for one thing, as well as review and contestation. Formatting is a form of the same thing. So correct, consistent, clear formatting is a sign that the journal is following the conventions of its field, as well as upholding the values of transparency and accountability. So a properly formatted front page alerts readers to various important elements of transparency and accountability so that they basically know who and what they're dealing with. So formatting really, really ties into professionalism and trust. So some general design principles. We're going to go through general design principles for article first pages. And before I do that, I'd say academic articles are a type of technical document, and clarity is always key. The layout of all academic articles is to be functional, and form follows function. So as you can see highlighted on the page here, CRAP, excuse my language, CRAP, was designed by Robin Williams, a design writer, and he outlined the foundational principles of this design, where C is contrast, R, repetition, A is alignment, and P is proximity. So I'm about to go into these foundational principles a little bit more in depth. So starting off with contrast, the basic concept of contrast is that if things are different, they should look different. So article titles, author names, journal titles, and so on should all be very easily distinguished from one another. But how do you do this without your page looking busy or messy? So contrast can come from the font size. It can come from font type or typeface, font weight, make it bold, unbold, italicize the font, and it can also come from color. So font can be quite tricky, but luckily most academic journals already have font guidelines outlined in their author guidelines, or they should. and already use a uniform font throughout each issue and volume. So fonts are a bit more complex than previously because most journals are now read online, and the requirements for hard copy fonts and online fonts differ slightly because of the differences between reading a printout and reading on a screen. So for interest's sake, there are three major types of font. This is serif. So serifs, I'm sure many of you know, but a serif is the little, what is that thing called? A dash at the end. For example, in Times New Roman, it's quite square and blocky. It's got the little dashy at the end. That is a serif. So that was the example. Times New Roman would be a serif font. Sans serif wouldn't have that little dash. A prime example would be Arial, Calibri. And then we also have display fonts, which are like our flashy fonts. They're fun and exciting. It's the Comic Sans, Papyrus. And to touch more, oh, sorry, there we go. My slides seem to be sticking. But to touch more on these different kinds of fonts, it's generally best for a document to stick to one font. Contrast can be achieved by varying font size and font weight rather. So in terms of font, the general consensus is that sans serif fonts are much easier to read on a screen or online, and serif fonts are easier to read in hard copy. So the font you choose will very much depend on whether you are catering more to a hard copy or an online audience. Either is fine as long as the journal keeps it consistent. So pick a font that works and stick to it. Professional documents usually do not use display fonts. They're too visually confusing and hard to read. Some journals do choose to use a particular font for their journal titles as a part of branding. And often this is a display font, which is fine, but it must be readable. There's no point having a beautiful cursive font if no one knows what it says. And lastly, in terms of contrast, try to use a maximum of 3 font sizes and 3 font weights. Moving on to repetition. So repetition in this context is very much referring to the visual consistency of the article or of the information. So if it is the same, it should look the same. At AJOL, a consistent layout throughout each issue of your journal and each volume of your journal is taken into account when we do your JPPS assessments and reassessments. So it's quite important. Consistency is very much key. And the elements that do need to be consistent, not with each other, but with themselves, would be headings, subheadings, captions, labels, and tables. So these elements all need to be consistent, and you need to be able to see that they are different from each other consistently. Moving on to alignment. As mentioned earlier, articles are technical documents and therefore intend to provide information in a very structured, hierarchical way in a very orderly fashion. So assembling and presenting information in this fashion should really be second nature to most researchers. And in left to right writing systems, alignment can be used to indicate importance and specificity. So titles are often centered in addition to being larger in size or bold. Abstracts are often a little bit indented and sometimes use a smaller font size. So abstracts usually in the middle. Body text tend to be left aligned or justified to the edges. And in bulleted or numbered lists, the more to the right the information is, the more specific it is. So a higher or lower position also works in very much the same way if you think about how authors are listed on the front page of an article. And finally, we look at proximity. So proximity basically means that conceptually related items should be grouped together. Authors should all be listed together. Not that we've really seen it done any other way, but they should be listed together in an order that is in accordance with the journal's authorship guidelines. Licensing and copyright information should also generally be together, even though they're not the same thing, they are related. And then the journal title, volume number, issue number, and year should also be together along with the article's page numbers. And finally, dates of submission, review, acceptance, and publication should be given together. So this is like with like. All of these things correspond to each other or relate to each other, and so they are generally grouped together. What about sidebars? So quite a few journals do use sidebars. These are usually on the left side of the page and can be used to clearly group information that pertains to the journal itself and the publication process. So the kind of information you'd expect to find in the sidebar would be the DOR, the article's DOR, licensing and copyright information, dates of submission and review, acceptance, publication, the article's citation, and the journal's ISSN and or EISSN. Sidebars should not be used for article title, authors, abstract, or keywords. Right, so let's move on to a little example of a good-looking first page with the formatting that we like to see. So this example does use lorem ipsum filler text, so it doesn't make much sense because that is not what we're focusing on. We will be focusing on the labeling all around it. And basically, if we look at this, I have separated this page here into easier to digest bits for ease of reading. But if we look at this, so starting with the purple highlighted section in the top left-hand corner, we're seeing the journal name, volume number, issue number, and year. Directly below this in dark green, we have the information regarding the licensing of the article. So if the journal is open access, it must be stated, and the license given to, please, the CC license. And then moving over to the top right-hand corner is the journal's copyright statement about the article's copyright. Just below this in dark red is the journal's ISSN or ISSNs. If the journal has a PISSN as well as an EISSN, we do encourage you to display both. If you only have one, display one. It should be an EISSN, especially any journals appearing on AJOL. And then below this in dark blue is the article DOR. So this is a perfect example sort of like being grouped with like. These are all journal article identifying information or licensing information. It's also with the journal names, volume number, issue number, and year. It's right there at the top. It's easy to see. Somebody shoots past this article, they can immediately see the journal it comes from. It's a lot of information, all very neatly put together at the top. So moving down to the bright pink highlighted bit there, the original research, that is the type of article or the section. And you can see that this is not the same as the title below it in orange. This is the perfect example of contrast. So the title is, they're both bold. The title seems bolder, it's larger, it catches your eye, it's right in the middle, it demands your attention. So that's a perfect example of contrast there. And then below the journal title, the article title, sorry, we have the author's names set out. And this is now a good example of proximity, but also contrast. So in green, we see the author's full names. And when I say proximity, the author's institutional affiliations are just below, but they are, so it's still author information, but it's been differentiated by italicizing it. So it's still different to the information above. And it's also, the font is slightly smaller. So that's a good example of the CRAP principle being put to use. And then moving further down along the page, you'll see in pink is the article abstract. And again, it's been indented, it's centered, it's bold. It's different to the keywords and the citation below. It doesn't get lost in translation. And again, you can see in red, these are the dates that the article was submitted to the journal, the date that the article was accepted for publication by the journal, and the date of publication of the article. So they've all been put together neatly, formatting is good, and yeah, generally it just all makes a lot of sense. So some specific AJOL requirements that we look for in an article first page, especially maybe when we're doing assessments, is that if the article is in a language other than English, we do generally ask that the titles, abstract, and keywords are given in English as well. We also place a lot of importance on, again, consistency with the name and surname of authors. So these should be consistently displayed. Generally, the first name and last name of each author is required here. But if you're not going to give the first name and last name, we do request that they be displayed consistently however they are displayed. So either the full names and surnames for all the authors, or only the initials and surnames for the authors, but never a mixture of the two. And we do recommend that authors have ORC IDs. And finally, the name and surname of all the authors must appear in the same order consistently. So we find that our uploaders get confused when it chops and changes between name, surname, and surname, name. So it should generally be set up name, surname, or surname, name, but never both. And finally, in terms of formatting, is color is okay in extreme moderation. And please also be aware that displaying your journal's own logo is acceptable, but it is best to have a good quality image file to use for that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the AJOL, displaying the AJOL logo or name. So some do's and don'ts. We have noticed here and there a couple of journals putting the AJOL logo on their front page. So we just wanted to touch on a new policy we've written up regarding this. So I'm just gonna go through the list of do's and the list of don'ts. And yeah, so starting off with the do's. It is perfectly acceptable to use AJOL, AJOL, as a noun to refer only to the organization. We also allow you to use the phrase AJOL partner journal to refer to your journal when indicating that it has been assessed by, accepted by, added to, and indexed on the AJOL website. So number 3, if writing about AJOL, ensure the title of your publication makes clear that it is about AJOL and not by AJOL. 4, if you do display, you are perfectly allowed to display your AJOL page's URL. So the AJOL, your journal's landing page on AJOL. The URL that you find at the top of the screen there, you are allowed to display this on your website if you wish to. That is allowed. And do use AJOL to represent the name of AJOL or the identifier. So some don'ts regarding the AJOL logo and name. Do not display the URL for the AJOL website on your article PDFs or in the journal end or front matter. And then these next 3, 2, 3, and 4 kind of, or 2 and 3, sorry, tie in together. Do not indicate membership of AJOL unless your journal has been assessed by, accepted by, onboarded to, and indexed on the AJOL website. And hand in hand with that, do not display the AJOL logo or claim to be in partnership with AJOL until you've been onboarded and indexed. Moving on to number 4. Do not display an original or edited AJOL logo on your website or on the PDFs of your journal articles, please. And 5, do not use the word AJOLs to refer to articles on AJOL. And 6, do not use the word AJOL to refer to services other than AJOL. So anytime AJOL is referred to, it has to be in reference to our organization. And then just on the same topic, please note that the full AJOL logo should not be changed or altered in any way. Official partner journals may be supplied with a custom partner journal logo in due course if they so wish. And I think that's that. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't go through that too quickly. If you, as Kate said, we will share this presentation with you and it will be posted on our YouTube channel soon. And here are some email addresses for pending journal applications, existing journal partners, or JPPS reassessments. I will just leave this page up so everybody can take a look at this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veda. That was really interesting. I think I learned a lot. So thank you for your time. You're very clear. And I hope that a lot of that information was useful to our attendees. So we do have a couple of questions, which is great. Thank you for posting those. One question was, will this be shared? We will absolutely share this recording and we can share the slides. I can send the slides out with our next webinar invitation. So I think, Veda, I'm going to hand over one question to you from Anna. Just, and it is the city of the institution really necessary? Is the country not sufficient? So that would be for the author's affiliation.
Yeah. I am not entirely sure about this. I do see where you are coming from. So I think let me find out and get back to you regarding that. Could you pop us an email maybe? And then
that's fine. We can get an email that's and answer that by email. I think the country would absolutely be sufficient if the especially if it is a kind of well-known institution, searchable institution, that should be absolutely fine. It's completely up to the journal how this information is displayed. It just is very useful for readers to have as much information as possible, especially if they're trying to track down the author for further information or for whatever reason, So to keep that in mind. Okay, so the next question was why to put licensing information in an article. This information should be in a section guide for authors. So thanks for that question. What you need to keep in mind here is that this licensing information is actually very important for the readers, absolutely for the authors, and it should be in the author guidelines. With authors submitting content to your journals and being published by your journals, it's very important for them to know in advance of the information being published. But a license is also there to protect the information in the article, regardless of the copyright. It's also there to guide users and readers as to how they might be able to use this information. So if it is there displayed on the front page very clearly, it is very helpful to the reader of the article. So I hope that kind of, I hope that makes sense. You can pop another question in if I didn't answer that correctly. We were asked by Krista if we could provide a sample first page. We can absolutely do that. I just did want to make a note. I'm not sure if Veda mentioned it and I missed it. The sample first page that Veda used in her presentation is all fictional authors and fictional titles. It's not real people information. So we can absolutely share that along with the slides. That's no problem at all. I have made a note of that, so we'll do that. Veda, I'm not sure if you can see these questions and you want to take on any of the answers.
I can see. So I'm not sure how to say this. Brunhilde has asked, is it important to put review information of the article on the title page? As far as I know, it's not important. You could maybe put the date that the journal, maybe the date of sort of final review, or that it was accepted, the date of review of the article, but no, a review information is not, as far as I'm aware, something that we look for. So that's the review. Do you prefer to have general information, journal number, copyright on the top of every individual article, even if they are bound to? Yes, so we do prefer on the first page of each article, we do like to have the general information available. That is something that we do like to see, even if it is bound together within the journal.
To add
also,
to that, sorry, Veda. Oh.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that on
AJOL
articles are uploaded individually. So
yeah.
Even though a reader might go and download the first article of the issue, it's important that that information is displayed on every single article for that reason.
Yeah, and also in terms of if your articles have DOIs, if you click on the DOI, it takes you straight to the PDF of that article. So it's good to have the info there to see. It's not going to take you straight to the journal information. MJPPS asks, is it possible to indicate revised date also in front page? I mean, really, I think whatever you think is important to put on the front page is that, then put it in the front page, as long as it's kept consistent. So I think consistency is something that we're aiming for. If you're going to put the revised date on the front page, then for one article, then put it on the front page for all of the articles. Who else?
I just want to answer the question about the AJOL logo. The AJOL rebranding happened this year. Still all very new. We're still being we're still a bit inundated with kind of technicalities from the upgrade. So we have considered how our journals might be able to use our new logo. One of them was that we might be able to generate a logo that would link to the journal's homepage. This is obviously still very much a work in progress. It is something we are looking into. So thank you for that question and a little bit of information there, and we will definitely look into it. It is something that we are very aware of, and we are very proud that our partner journals want to display the AJOL logo along with the AJOL URL and all the rest of it. We're always delighted that people are happy to be indexed on our site. That is why we exist. So along those lines, displaying the AJOL URL, just to emphasize that AJOL is a website. It's a non-profit organization relying fully on funding. There are chances that AJOL might not exist in the future for whatever reason. Obviously, all of us really hope that that is not the case. But for that very reason, we don't want the AJOL URL displayed on PDFs, because those PDFs and those articles are going to be around hopefully forever and ever. A way around this is through DOIs. DOI is a permanent article identifier. It is a service that AJOL offers freely to our partner journals. So once you are accepted and indexed on AJOL, this is definitely something we can help you with. And how it works is that it will direct the user to the PDF on AJOL while the PDF is on AJOL, and AJOL has activated that DOI with Crossref. Should AJOL, for whatever reason, all fall down, that DOI can be linked to a different website where the article might appear. So that link will always be active as long as it's linked to an active website where that PDF appears. So it's recommended and preferable that a journal will make use of DOIs rather than adding the AJOL URL to their articles and first page. I think there was a question about the publication date, which I'm not sure, and I know that that is a concern. So I'm just going to quickly address it while I'm taking on Veda's time. Sorry, with the publication date being displayed on more and more articles, this is something that AJOL really needs to take into consideration. It wasn't there for a lot of AJOL's existence, and the software wasn't quite equipped to put these publication dates and make sure that they correspond with the actual publication of the article. This is something that we've had to work around. Also, bearing in mind that AJOL is a online aggregator. The articles are not, they don't go through the full workflow on our website. So publication dates become tricky. The publication date displayed on the AJOL website is the date that the article is uploaded to AJOL. If you are uploading your own content to AJOL and you have the publication date available on the PDF, please feel free to put in the correct publication date on the AJOL website when you're uploading the article. If you are uploading your own content, you will know the step in which this happens. This is something that we are certainly going to enforce going forward. And we are working out a way how to go back and do this, especially when back issues are only being uploaded to AJOL this year, which may have been published back in 1998 or something. It's not a kind of true representation of when the article is actually published. So that is something that we can absolutely look into. So I thought, yeah, I think that's for me. So Veda, if you want to jump into the questions again.
Somebody did ask here, Kate, do you also facilitate the assigning of DOI for new journals? So this is something that we do. You can pop an email to info@ajol.info, and we do assign DOIs for issues that are yet to be published. So unpublished issues, currently unpublished issues.
Content going forward. Absolutely.
And then somebody I saw, sorry, the Q&A section is confusing me slightly. Oh, Krista asked, is there a difference between license information and ISSN? So yes, there is. Krista, if you'd like more information on ISSNs, we did do a webinar a couple of weeks ago where somebody from ISSN came and spoke about it a bit. So that would be a good resource to check out to get an idea of the ISSNs. But basically, an ISSN is it's a journal identifier, and the licensing information is entirely different. That would have to do with the sorry, not the copyright, the whether the journal is open access or not, and what the CC license is. So licensing information and ISSN information are not one and the same.
She's just put it, sorry, Krista, it's quite difficult not being able to talk. Okay. So you with us, yeah. So the what we mean by the licensing information would be the copyright and CC license, which I think your journals have in place already. So that's the clarification. Okay, I think that's all the questions and answers that I came across. I don't think there were any more in the chat.
Obviously, feel free to email us if you think of anything.
We are tracking through emails. I'm sorry if you are waiting. It's end of year madness. We've also got funding deadlines and lots of people to answer to on our side. So we promise we will attend to your emails as soon as possible. But I think that's all for now. Thank you, Veda, for your time and very clear and informative presentation. We really appreciate it. Slides and the recording will be shared. So thanks very much again for all your time. We had loads of attendees today, and we really hope that you found that useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.